The first thing I want to look at, this is the E to D, isn't it? Or E to C. But anyway, they're below C. This group has it by demonstration. I presume that's what you are as well. Is that right? Yeah. What level are you? C. Pardon? Okay. And I think it's all the same. So the first thing, and regardless of whatever level we are anyway, is to look at how does the horse stop and go? What does that feel like when you ask the horse to stop? And count how many steps it takes and how light or heavy it is. So if I can get you all to halt, okay, and actually looked all right, but how did it feel in your hand? Was it light? Pretty good? What about yours there? Okay, yep. Okay, so now what I want you to do is, for your go button, think of it as squeezing your calves, and for 2 beats, we make it 1 beat later, but the reason we do it in 2 beats is because it's not just about saying go up to walk, it's about how to walk, because the first step he'll be walking, but it might be really stally and slow. The second squeeze is to say at this speed, so you say go, go. But you can actually, if he's a goer, you only need to do the one. So it's just that the transition to walk should be by the 3rd step of the front legs. Okay, and then when we do stop, it's also completed in the 2 steps by the 3rd. So you go and woo to soften. Okay, so that's all we have to do for stop and go, is just look at how light that is. As I say to you all, I'm not. You can do better. I'm not a teacher of of children so much, so forgive me. But let's go. Let's squeeze him on, and then of course the main thing that I want to just impart is not just the use that you use your leg, but also that you release the pressure, that you soften the pressure of your leg when he goes. Okay. And so that you're not in the position of keeping on kicking. So now your seat is just going with him. Okay, so then after we've gone a little way, now we'll ask him to stop, but don't ask yet. What I want you to think of is, you know, how if you were blowing up a balloon, you would actually engage your stomach, your core, and sit a little bit, push out with your stomach, a little with your belly button, just so that you don't collapse forward when you do halt. So get your position right. Squeeze with your fingers and count how many steps of his front legs did he do when you halt. And okay, so how many was that? Yeah, about 3 or 4? 5? 3 or 4? 3 or 4, okay. So let's try and do it in 2. So what I want you to do is when you halt, is go squeeze, then squeeze a bit stronger, and then soften. So you go and 1, 2, give. So in the end, the transition for the horse learns to becomes a habit. He's not just like, doing guesswork anymore. He's learning that if you halt him in the same way each time, that's how he halts. Because otherwise it always stays a little bit messy, and it always stays a little bit occasionally heavy and occasionally not. It depends on his mood. This way, you're making habits. Okay, so squeeze him on. And keep going for half a circle, and then now I want you to count the front leg steps. Okay, so remember, sit tall, engage your core, and go and woo woo, and see if you can do it. Yep, that was good there on the pony, and I'll never remember your name, so I won't ask. But and okay, yeah. And if he does a little step forward, this is a really important part. You can ask him to do a little step back if he knows how to step back. But if he doesn't, don't worry about it. We wouldn't do this for the E kids doing the E certificate. But by the time they get to the C, we can actually ask him to step back. So if you now soften your reins a little bit and see, does that mean go to the pony? Because it shouldn't do, because he's got to wait for your legs. So yeah, that's good. So if you do that, and they all stand still, but if he steps forward, just do 1 step back and give. So he stays put. It's exactly the same as what we did in hand. Okay? That's looking good. And then now squeeze with your leg and off you go. Okay, that's good. And let's do one more of those. Just see if you can halt in 2 beats. So you go woo woo if you have to. A little bit stronger so that he does it in the 2. Because once he knows, he can do it. Just for those sitting down, there is quite a lot of literature about animals that most animals, even bees, can actually count to 5. So the horse can easily learn to do things in 2 beats, 1 beat or whatever. Okay, so when you're ready, ask him to halt again in 2 beats. Oh, and woo, woo, and give. And remember to soften your reins. That's all there is to it, is you go woo, woo, give. Okay, so remember the give. Because remember, the pressure motivates and the release trains. But the next exercise I'm going to do, I'm just going to run through these exercises. So that's just really about stop and go. We can also do this now. If we go up to trot, we want him to go up to the trot. He's got enough power in the hindquarters to do that in 2 beats. But when we go, say, trot to halt, we don't expect it to be in any less than 4 beats. So 2 beats per gait, if you're with me. So you see, when we go walk to halt, we're going 1, 2. If we went trot to walk, it would be in 1, 2. Yeah, good boy, well done. And if we do trot to halt, we're going down 2 gaits. We would expect it in 4 beats. And that keeps it really uniform and consistent and starts to teach the horse. It's quite interesting if you obey by those principles that the horse learns to be typically light and easy. Okay, so squeeze him onto trot. And you can tap him with your stick if you need to, but remember, just when you use your stick, don't tap him once, go tap, 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 until he trots. Because what is critical is if you use your stick and you tap him just once but nothing happens, then you've trained nothing. So keep tapping in a regular rhythm. That's it, keep going if you can. And then stop tapping. Good. So it's as simple as that. Okay, and then you're all trotting. And then when you come back down to walk, you want that in 2 beats. So you go squeeze with your reins and woo woo, soften. So he's walking. So it's just transition to walk. We'll do that, and then we'll do a transition all the way down to halt from trot. But that'll be in a minute. Okay, so when you're ready, the rest of you squeeze him up to trot. He'll do that in 2 beats pretty well. And for you on the pony, yeah, just tap him until he trots. The key is don't stop until you get the response. Okay, and then again you sit trot and down to walk and woo woo, soften. Yeah, if you learn to soften really well, like soften your fingers when he gives the transition to walk, you will find then that you won't get him doing a short step and then have to be pushed on again. You'll be able to go woo woo, give, and you'll go into the perfect walk, which is one of the things that happens to horses when they're doing tests. Quite often they come down to walk, but now you've got to push them forward because they stall too much. One more transition up to trot. And I won't go into canter today because I guess the point is that it's the same way we train the horse regardless of the gait in respect to the stop and the go buttons. Okay, so squeeze him up to trot. And then as you're trotting now, we're going to do a transition down to halt, down to stop. And I want you to count the front leg steps. How many steps did it take to go to halt? So you sit trot, keep your position, and then ask him to halt. Squeeze the reins, and how many steps of his front legs did that take? How many was that? I think it was 3 or 4, which is really good. Did it feel pretty smooth? Because it's the smoothness how you'll know, because you see when he is resisting the stop button, some of the steps within the transition will be suddenly longer than they should have been, because all the steps as you go down should be getting shorter, 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 and slower, slower, slower in the tempo. How many steps was yours, do you remember? Okay, well, don't worry, we'll do it again. And what about yours there? 4, cool, okay. And so walk on again. So it's really just the old thing that dressage trainers always talk about, or the good ones, is doing lots of transitions, making sure, because the transitions are what makes the rhythm. Okay, sorry, that's my speaker. I'll try and stop it rattling. When you're ready, pop them into trot. Good, and squeeze to trot. And then this time, when you go down to halt, I want you to count the front leg steps. You'll notice when you sit, it's the same as the number of bumps in the seat. So you want no more than 4 bumps if you can help it. So sit trot, and then count when you squeeze the reins. How many was that, do you think? Yeah, I think it was 5, but 4 or 5, you're getting there. 5's still acceptable, but it's nice if we can do it in 4 and we keep it at that. And in our training, then he starts to have the same response each time. You see, my point is if the response varies in the horse, then he's not making a habit. He's kind of choosing how he feels on each day. How many steps was yours? 4? Good. 3 or 4? 5. Okay, so that just means if it's 5, just use a little bit. So you're going, close your fingers, then go and woo woo, a little slightly more strong in the middle of the transition, and then remember, soften your reins at halt. Okay, and always just test while you're even standing here again now, if you release your reins, does he actually move? And if he does, step him back. Okay, we'll wait till that's all over. If it actually does finish. Right. Okay, so when you're ready, squeeze and walk on. So at this level, we don't necessarily expect the upward transition if we go up to the trot from halt to be in one transition. We can just go up to walk and then squeeze on to trot and one more transition down to halt. And see if you can do it in 4 beats, okay? So you're going squeeze, woo, woo in the middle. You don't need to be strong, just a little bit more than you did, okay? When you're ready, into trot. And then when you're ready, sit trot, and then ask him to halt and count as soon as you use your reins to squeeze. Okay, how many was that? Yeah, that was good. He's quite reactive.
Got 7 that time because she's
Okay, yeah. So if you let your reins go now, and if she walks off, just step her back. No, she's going to be good. Okay, take up your contact again and just insist this time. So if they're mucking around, they're shying a little bit or a bit behaving a little bit reactively in one place, do your transitions out somewhere else and then come back and test that spot. How many was yours? 3 or 4? 3. Well done. Good effort. Okay. Right. One more and that'll do. Then we'll move on to another thing. So squeeze on to walk. And just make sure, yeah, that's it. So if he's a little bit doubtful, tap him with your stick. And remember, if you do tap him, don't stop tapping till he does go. Not just one tap, keep tapping, tap, 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 tap till he's walking. That's it. And then up to trot. Keep going, good. And stop tapping, well done. Okay, and try and make this one again now in no more than 4 beats, ideally 4 beats of the front legs. And okay, when you're ready, and halt. Good. Okay, right, so just have a little walk on a loose rein and we'll do another exercise now. I just want to explain something that, you see, if we can get the horse to halt from trot in 4 beats, it's quite a useful exercise for dressage purposes, but also for safety, because it means that the brakes are working well. And when we get the transition down in 4 beats, then we start to see that the transition is smooth in 4 beats. In other words, the tempo of the legs goes like music. It goes and 1, 2, 3, 4, and the stride length also changes uniformly all the way down, so it gets smaller, smaller, smaller stop. And you see, what you see a lot in transitions that aren't good is where you see, particularly with the hind legs, because you can see the separation more clearly, that they actually do big steps in the middle when they should be doing a downward transition, and that's a failure of the stop button. Next thing I want to look at are the turns. Now, one of the things we can do in the looking at the turns is looking at straightness, and that's in that exercise book under one of the lessons. And so one way of doing this is to have the horse going on a really soft rein, like just a nice straight rein. Don't ask anything too demanding with the reins, just walk with him with your hands. And then what I would like you to do is use his ears like gun sights. Do you know what I mean? So you can see between his ears, and then turn him somewhere across the arena. You can all go in different directions, and have your reins really soft. And if he drifts a little bit to the right, bring him back left by opening your left rein. In other words, use your reins like a steering wheel to steer him back on line and soften. And with the older kids, what we would do is, and I'll do that later, but we can also check. In some situations we would do it with our legs, and in others we would do it with our reins. And it will all depend on whether the horse is swerving and slowing or swerving and accelerating. But at this level, we just do it with our reins and get him steering. So it won't matter if he loses a little bit of go in the turn, we can always squeeze him on. Okay, so when you're ready, so if you look at one of those horse floats and have your reins so soft, and see if he, as you're going along, without helping him with your legs or your reins initially, if he drifts a little bit right, bring him back left with your left rein. If he drifts a bit left, bring him back with your right. So it's really just a steering game. And just see, it's to teach himself carriage in line. That is the exercise. So that where you point him, he goes. And you don't just even stay in this arena, just stay somewhere nearby. Okay, so come across the arena, look at a person between his ears, and see if he drifts a little bit right or left, just correct him with your hands opening or closing to keep him really straight. Yep, and you can change rein now, so we'll go left. And if you come across and do the same thing, so you're just steering him wherever you go. That's it. And if he drifts one way or the other, just bring him back with your reins. We haven't got a lot of room to do that here, so I can't give you a lot of experience with it, so we might need to make the area bigger. Okay, so keep him going. That's it. And even then check as you're going, if you release both reins, does he stay going where you point him, or does he drift? See, what I'm getting at for the coaches is that we don't want to teach the horse to be held on the line. We want to teach him to actually go on his own where you point him. Okay, so that begins to teach him to react to your reins, which is about turning the front legs. Okay, who have I forgotten? Have you had a go yet? Yep, okay, so do it all once again. Maybe actually do it from the corner here, whoever's next in the corner, if you can do it, and just ride with that last horse float between his ears, and just see if he drifts. And have your reins a little bit longer, so don't worry about him being round. Just let him have his own carriage wherever he is. And does he drift left or right?
More to the right.
Okay, so then bring him a bit left by opening your left rein. Okay, so just do it again. You don't need me to tell you. Just keep doing it so that you're testing if you can steer him. Okay, if you go now and keep the horse float at the end between his ears, soften your reins a lot so you're daring him to swerve, but if he does swerve, you'll correct him with your reins. That's it. It also teaches him to keep looking ahead and not turn his head neck a little bit, because they want to look if they look to the right, they usually fall left. If they look left, they usually fall right. Okay? If you all, yeah, that's good. Have another go. But all of you, just do it. You don't need me to ask. Just wherever you are, just go across the arena, cut across, and just see if he follows the line you asked him to go on. Yep, that's it. And the reins are soft. And if he drifts a bit right, you're looking at some object in the distance, and he should keep going where you're pointing without any help. If he does drift, correct him and then soften. That's it, yeah, keep going. If he spins a little bit, if he spins away one way, don't just turn him the opposite way. Don't let him go the way he wants. And then just don't force him to get too close. Just do as close as you can and then move on. Is the grounds familiar to him? So that there's nothing worse than unfamiliar things in familiar ground. Very good. Keep him to the right. That's it. So just shorten your reins a little bit. That's it. And just don't worry about forcing him to get there. So no, just let's go somewhere near it, but not too close. So just turn now, so that you can achieve it. That's it. Now. That's it. So you're just keeping your line. This is a line issue more than anything. You know, we call it shying, but it's really about swerving away from your line. Now, what I want to do with this group, there's quite a few of them. What are we, 5? So I might call for some coaches to give me a hand and just help me work one-on-one. So we could use 5 coaches. And I'll just tell you the exercises I want to do. So if anybody's happy to work with me, oh great, thank you. And we'll just use this arena here. And just to get a start on this, if you want to get them a bit familiar, which is what you're trying to do, that's looking pretty good. Don't just trot them, do changes of speed, like just go and a bit faster and a bit slower, like keep talking to the horse, keep asking him questions. So you don't need to do big transitions like halt or anything, but just go a little bit faster and now a little bit slower and then a little bit faster, but keep asking questions so that your questions overshadow the tent. And then I'll start from the start in a minute. So just so you can ride them around. Don't force. Don't set yourself up for failure. So just turn early and just do the bit you can. Because he's saying, I'm not really sure about that tent. That hasn't been here before. Good boy. Yeah, and turn right. Just keep your reins a bit shorter there, a bit long. That's it. Yeah, good boy. Yeah, give it your reward him. Tell him it's all good. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Good. Well done. Yeah. So your left reine's really telling his front legs to go a little bit left. That's good. That's a turn. You're saying, because his legs want to go right, and you're saying, no, just go a little bit left, but just don't turn it into a fight. Okay, now form an evenly spaced group, and then we'll go out there with some coaches